Tuesday, and in case you had missed that, there are a couple of states in play. Senator Ted Cruz didn't miss it. Remember, he suspended his campaign a week ago today. But then there's this. Watch.
If Nebraska were to somehow
it's not going to happen,
miraculously choose you tonight.
Pat's going for the Hail Mary.
Is there, I mean, if that happened, would you consider getting back in the race?
Well, I am not holding my breath. My assumption is that that will not happen. But listen, let's be very clear. If there is a path to victory, we launched this campaign intending to win. The reason we suspended the race last week is with Indiana's loss, I didn't see a viable path to victory. If that changes, we will certainly respond accordingly.
You know, people always like to talk about why they suspend, why they don't drop out, so on and so forth officially. Sometimes it can be about paying the bills and continuing to keep the coffers open so that they can do that. And then sometimes I guess it's about keeping your options open. But I do want to preface all of this by saying that Nebraska tonight has 36 delegates up for grabs in the GOP. So I don't know that that would be a game
That'll
changer.
certainly impact Ted Cruz's position.
36
delegates.
What do you think about this, though? He didn't say definitively, but it's on the table.
Just go.
Just go where?
Go away.
Oh, goodness.
Stop. I mean, are we going to go state by state? If Nebraska just by chance happens to like me, then I'll get on. Then if we go to another state and they don't like me, I'll get off. You've made the decision to suspend your campaign. Stay with one decision. This is what should happen. Move on. You don't want to support Donald Trump. He's made it very clear in that regard. But the point is why come in and muddle situations even more? Isn't it time? I just keep thinking the GOP at some point is going to have a revelation or epiphany that says we really need to figure out who we want to be the nominee, and let's all get behind that individual.
All right, Julie, you've worked on campaigns before. Have you ever seen anything quite like it?
Okay, call me Pollyanna, all right?
This campaign, never.
No.
But I'm a little concerned about our friend Glenn Beck. I feel like he's going through stages of grief. I mean, acceptance is a stage he needs to get to because he's the one that's asking, are you going to get back in? Is it possible? Is it
not over yet? Is it,
Teddy? Not over. I mean, like, give up the ghost, Glenn Beck.
But who does that help? Who does that help? I mean, I think it helps Donald Trump. I mean, he needs Ted Cruz to complete his narrative. He doesn't. I mean, that's why he's talking about, oh, Paul Ryan, I don't know if we really need to bring the party together. I don't know if I'm going to meet with you. I don't know what I'm going to do at the convention. He needs to keep this whole narrative going of it's me against the whole entire world. That's what keeps his followers energized and out there voting. I wonder if he's.
But I don't think he needs Ted Cruz to do that. He has Paul Ryan now.
That was one of the saddest things I've ever listened to. I mean, I'm serious. Like, but is there maybe? And he's like, yeah, maybe. And I'm like, wow, delusional self-confidence like that must make life pretty fun. I don't know.
You know, I do want to point out, though, I don't know if, in fact, Donald Trump has said he wouldn't meet with Paul Ryan. I don't think that that's happened at all. I think that the door has been open. It's just what he's saying is, look, we can meet, and if we don't agree, we don't have to unify in order for him to win.
I think they do need to unify, and that's the difficulty here. You know, the person that he needs to vilify is not Ted Cruz or Paul Ryan or anybody else. It needs to be the Democrats. It needs to be Hillary Clinton. The more we start engaging in this whole concept of are they getting together, do they hate each other, this whole Twitter back and forth, this whole PR statement back and forth, it takes attention away from who Donald Trump needs to focus on, which is Hillary Clinton.
But there's 6 months left. There's 6 months left.
I like what Speaker Ryan said. It's like Donald's upset that he just didn't jump on right away. And I understand that. This is just the way Donald's personality is. Come on board with me. It looks like I'm the guy. Come on board with me. But I like the fact is let's sit down. Let's have a meeting. Let's sit down and talk. He didn't say he wouldn't support him.
Right.
He just wants a little more information, and I think that's very wise.
Okay. Look, I have said it before. I think it's entirely interesting that the Democrats are still have two candidates, even though you think Bernie's not viable.
Right.
And but the Republicans were down to one. And now again, if that door opens back up, you're right back to where you started.
But are they really down to one?
Yeah, it didn't sound like it from that.
Maybe not.
I'm not sure.
I launched this campaign to win. Stunning allegations that the social media giant censors conservative opinion news. This is according to tech news outlet Gizmodo. Former Facebook employees who spoke out anonymously say popular articles from conservative outlets were deliberately left off its trending news sidebar. Among the topics reportedly banned, Mitt Romney, Glenn Beck, who we just saw, Senators Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, Governor Scott Walker, American sniper Chris Kyle, the popular Drudge Report. Even Lois Lerner, the former IRS official, loathed by conservatives for her targeting of the Tea Party groups. Facebook furiously pushing back against the anonymous tipster, saying, quote, "We take allegations of bias very seriously. There are rigorous guidelines in place for the review team to ensure consistency and neutrality. These guidelines do not permit the suppression of political perspectives, nor do they permit the prioritization of one viewpoint over another or one news outlet over another." But Reince Priebus and the RNC calling reports of censoring conservatives chilling and adding, quote, "With 167 million U.S. Facebook users reading stories highlighted in the trending section, Facebook has the power to greatly influence the presidential election." Harris, you're nodding your head.
That's really the problem here. It's what they chose to, well, I should say one of the problems, to make trending, to make important, to slant. It's one thing to quiet a source and to censor it, but then to draw attention to something else to make you think that that's the most important. So it would be the liberal point of view or whatever. That's really an egregiousness that if they have a department that's in charge of this, they might want to clean house.
Hey, Kat, you know, I was surprised actually to read this report because I've covered tech for a long time and I know that most things are dictated by algorithms. And I assumed that this was being done by an algorithm, and it was surprising to me that they had human beings in there sort of sorting it out. Right. Of course, anytime you insert humans, whether they mean to or not, their bias comes in.
Exactly. The fact that there were humans doing this proves that there has to be some sort of bias at work because, like you say, all humans are biased. Everybody has it. And they just kind of denied it. But this is something that people talk about all the time. You know, conservatives, you know, media and you know, mainstream liberal. But you see examples of it, and it's kind of scary because, like you're saying, a lot of people do get their news only from places like Facebook. So it's not just about Facebook. That's people's news.
I mean, maybe that's the scary part.
That's sad, but true.
That is a little scary if you're getting your news from Facebook. But you're right, especially younger people do get their news from Twitter, from Facebook, online, on their devices. If this is true, it's disgraceful. There's no, I mean, there's no excuse for it. And you're absolutely right. This should be an algorithm, nothing else. If something's trending, it's because enough people are looking at it for it to trend or whatever the algorithm is.
Why would you need people?
Why would you need somebody? Why would you need somebody to go in there?
What always concerns me, though, is when I hear the term an anonymous source. That always concerns me. Why not, if you're going to make the statement, and all of us have made statements, we hold ourselves accountable to the statements that we make. If you're going to make an allegation or a statement, put your name next to it. That way, to me, it'll have some credence. Right now, an anonymous source said this. And, of course, we're talking about it because it is impactful, and Facebook is a...
You're talking about the people that talked to Gizmodo?
I'm talking about the person that made the statement that said that conservative comments were left out of Facebook
So let me give you a little more detail then on that front. So this report was in Gizmodo. They talked to a couple different people who wanted to remain anonymous because they still work in the tech industry, and everybody over at Facebook is really powerful, so they were afraid of reprisal. I definitely hear what you're saying, but that was their explanation.
But why would you
have multiple sources. I would also say that the reason why there's a human in there, and once you think about it logically, it makes sense. You know, there's an algorithm doing a lot of it, but then at the end they have to sort through what's obscene. You know, what is a source that you can't put on the site no matter what. So there has to be human contact in there. Go ahead.
I know you have interviewed a lot of the heads of these tech companies. So I think that we understand the difference between what's obscene and then what is censorship. Right? So if you're telling me that you don't want bad words on the site, as a mom, I'm good with that. But if you're telling me that you don't want conservatives or liberals or any other group, then I have to scratch my head. And I agree with you, Catherine, that we all have a bias. We're human. What we're asked to do as journalists and what we're asked to do as ethics keepers in different positions is to be able to put that bias aside and make a decision not about who is right, but what is right to get to the truth. That's what our job is. And so do they have somebody in that department who can do that? Because if they don't, again, clean house and let a machine do it.
And also they're deciding what is a reliable news source, which is a very interesting question in this day and age, because there was the day when everybody pretended they had no bias whatsoever. We're all straight down the middle. We don't have any political opinions, which was disingenuous. That has changed. Now in the news media, I think people come out and you're like, here's my basic point of view. I'm being honest about that, and I'm going to try and now present both sides. It's tricky territory, right, Julie? I mean, we all run into it every day.
It's very tricky, but look, the Drudge Report is not obscene. There's no reason to censor it. That is a news source. It is a news source for millions upon millions of people every day. We should be able to have a trend.
Okay, Harvard University is cracking down on exclusive all-male clubs. I know Melissa has a lot to say about this.
Oh, gosh.
Our Ivy Leaguer on the couch. The restrictions they're putting on students who join them and whether they go too far.